What's up, everybody? So we've got Sean Tom, episode 7. My girlfriend, Linnea, is the guest today. Love her dearly, of course, and hopefully the single guys out there and even some people in relationships can get some value out of this, so check it out.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to what? Being out of our element?
Okay. Me with the podcast, you on not your side.
Yeah. She's referring to the fact that I'm sitting on this side of the room, which is not where the host of this show, Sean Tom, usually sits, is it?
No, but we do make compromises for the people we love. We do.
Yeah,
compromises
that we do.
and sacrifices.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Sean Tom. We got a special guest today. We have my girlfriend, Linnea. Okay, so the first question that we always have is liquor or lightning. And today, technically, we don't have either. We have wine. No caffeine, no liquor, wine. She got these cool wine glasses from where?
Slate Theory in Fredericksburg, Texas. It was a very cute underground winery. It was a cave-like experience, and it was a private dining room area where I sat with all my friends. It was for a bachelorette weekend, so it was really cool. I think you would have liked it.
Yeah. Well, I like the wine, and I like the glasses. The glasses you probably can't see from that far away on the camera, but there's a skull on each one. So it was partially manly. I was like, that'll do. Because I told her earlier I was going to have my whiskey, and she was like, you're not going to have wine with me? So we're having wine. Compromise,
Yeah.
huh?
She wanted wine, I wanted whiskey, so we compromised and we're having wine.
Tonight. Don't let her fool you. That's always how it goes. Okay, so the next thing we do is check-ins. So I'm going to go back and forth between you and me, and we're going to give a scale of our score, a scale of 1 to 10 on how we feel mentally, and then a different score for how we feel physically. Do you want to go first, or you want me to go?
I want you to go.
You want me to go?
Because I don't want to say I'm feeling a 10. You're
it doesn't matter.
You're my
way.
girlfriend's in for the weekend, so 6 could be better.
No. It doesn't matter either way. It doesn't have to do... This is not a relationship score.
Okay.
It's not how we feel about each other, or it's just...
But I'm going to take whatever you say personally, so you should go first.
She ain't. She's being sarcastic. Okay, I'll go first. So, physically, I feel really good. The only minor little things, we talked about this earlier, is I went light on chest day today because I feel like my elbow was hurting and the shoulder is hurting. And I've been feeling kind of achy in those two areas lately, and I don't know why. I'm trying to figure out why, analyze the diet and what I'm doing or not doing correctly. I'm sure the alcohol won't help tonight, but hey, I drink enough water every day most days, so that I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'm analyzing that. But other than that, I really feel great physically. So I'm gonna go with a 9.
A 9.
I feel really good physically.
Yeah.
Mentally, I'm gonna go with 9 as well. I don't really know what a 10 would be. Maybe on our wedding day or us having a kid. I just feel like everything's great in the world, Life-wise, I don't really feel like there's any unnecessary drama or things that I'm uncertain of, or I don't feel like I'm straying from the Lord right now or anything like that. So for me, I'm going to go 9 on both. And I don't think I've given a 9 on both on any episode, but 9.
That's good.
So what do you think?
Good.
Mentally and physically?
So mentally, I'm probably a...
Be honest.
An 8, maybe?
Okay, an 8.
I'm a little stressed out, but I'm doing my best.
What are you stressed about? Because I know a lot of these things, but it may be some things they don't know.
So I'm applying for nursing schools right now, so I am about to take my T's, so I'm doing a lot of studying, and I work at a neurology office, so just that is super busy and stressful, and I'm moving into a new place that I've been renovating, which is just super fun. It's an experience to say the least, one that I feel like has definitely tested me, but made me grow in a lot of ways. But just a lot on my plate that I'm balancing, so maybe an 8. 9 would be it's nothing I can't handle, but 8 is I'm hanging in there.
Other than a few little normal life stressors, you're pretty good.
It's normal life stress.
Yeah.
Like, everyone has, like, their few things, like work, school.
Everyone's going to move at some point. You're going to try to move up in your career, hopefully at some point, you know, different things like that, Yeah. Okay, so physically. We laughed about this one earlier.
Yeah. We have a joke that I'm always falling apart. So maybe, like, I don't know, I'm doing bad. My back is hurting, like, bad. So the worst it's hurt in a long time.
Why is your back hurting? Because they don't know.
I was in a car accident, and I have a herniated disc in my back that's causing me just a lot of pain. But I would say maybe, like, 10 is, like, I'm feeling great. So maybe, like, a 4.
10 is perfect. The best day of your life. Perfect.
Maybe, like, a 4.
A 4?
Yeah.
Ooh, pretty low.
Yeah.
And it's all because of the back?
Yeah. It's been hard to just, like, do the things that I need to do. Like, do my house renovations. Like, when you're just in so much pain, like, that's, like...
It makes everything worse.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll get you up from that 4. We're trying to work on a project right now, too, and it's the Flower to Power, which is, she's my flower. That's why I call her my little flower. And she's trying to get to power. So she's trying to get, you know, the fitness game to the, you know, wherever she's trying to take it. And so we're just, you know, I don't want to hurt her. So I've got to keep the back injury in mind, and we've got to balance that. So but that's part of being a trainer, is you're always going to have things that, it's like a balancing act. Life happens in different ways. For example, Laura, I'm training her friend Laura right now, and she's coming up for a wedding. But then she's got to do so much leading up to that wedding that she's stressed, and then she got injured too.
Yeah.
And so there's all these different things, but that's part of being a trainer. You got to be able to adapt, and, you know.
She knew that, like, I was probably feeling left out, you know, so she went and injured her back so that we could just be
Is
like...
that why? I messaged her when I was replying one time, like, you and Linnea and these... your weak backs.
Yeah.
These back
it's sympathy
injuries.
pain. The sympathy injury. She's like, dang, you know.
I'm trying to make you feel better?
Yeah.
Well, how about y'all heal together? How about that? Okay, so after check-ins, what we're going to do is trivia.
Okay,
You haven't looked, right? You haven't looked at the questions.
I have not looked.
Okay, she's got 5 questions. If she gets all 5 right, then I have to take a shot of one of these lovely liquors.
Do I get to pick?
Here. Pick what? The
what
liquor?
you take a shot of when you lose.
I'll let you pick, because I like all these.
Okay.
So that's fine. Well, if you pick, then I get to pick yours. Is that the deal?
Or do you? Know if that's fair.
Okay. I want to see how the tunes changed. Or do you want us to pick our own?
No, we'll just decide for each other.
Like, I pick yours, you pick mine. Okay, so she's rolling the dice. Okay. So she's got 5 questions, trivia questions. If she gets all 5 right, I have to take a shot. If she gets 3 or 4 right, we both take a shot. If she only gets 1 or 2 right, then only she takes a shot. Okay, so question 1. This is the funniest one.
We're going to start with the funniest
one, yeah. What are the words to the Pledge of Allegiance?
Oh, no. Okay, the whole thing?
It's not that long.
The Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah, you said it every day growing up, right?
Yeah.
In class?
So
okay.
I pledge allegiance to the... Wait, the Texas or the American flag one?
Y'all do a separate one for the Texas flag?
Yes.
We don't do a separate one for the Tennessee flag. That's how prideful Texas people are. Which, hey, I dig it. I appreciate it. Because I love Texas, too. But we definitely only had one, and it was to the American flag growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So do the American flag one, because that's the one I'll know. I can't grade you on the Texas one. Go ahead.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the American flag. Am I already messing up? No, now I'm nervous.
You have to say.
I think I already forgot.
I pledge allegiance. Go ahead.
To the... Oh my gosh, I think I forgot it.
Do you remember the Texas one?
Yeah.
Okay, say the Texas one. Maybe it'll jog your memory.
I don't think so.
You don't remember it either?
No, I think I remember. Okay, so I pledge allegiance to the Texas flag. I feel like I'm missing a verse somewhere. Like, I want to jump to this one.
This is the first question out of the trivia. That's all I'm saying.
You cannot. Can I phone a friend?
No. You want to phone a friend?
Yeah.
I've never let this happen on the show before. I will let you phone a friend. Do you have your phone?
Yeah.
You get one phone call.
Okay.
This is hilarious. This is going to be a new thing. You get one phone a friend. You know what? I'm glad you said that.
Okay.
You only get one call, so don't. And they have to be on speaker.
This could be life or death.
Oh.
Let me call one more time.
Maybe that second call will get it.
Mm-hmm. Maybe she'll think it's an emergency, which it is.
Mm-hmm. Shots are on the line. If only she knew.
She's not going to answer. You can usually tell. Under God, indivisible.
But you have to
liberty
say it
and
all.
Justice for all. But there's a verse missing somewhere in there.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. That's not correct, baby.
I'm shocked.
Alright. Do you want to move on or do you want me to recite it for you?
Yeah, I need you to recite it. I'm just supposed to accept that? Like, you're wrong.
Well, you know I know it.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
See, I was wrong from the...
Uh-huh.
Okay, let's see if she can do it. She's calling back.
Oh, I almost gave you it.
I didn't like that, yeah. Something about the vitamin D, man. Hello?
Hey.
Hey?
Hey, sorry, I know that you're out right now, but can you do me a favor?
Are you drunk?
Maybe a little tipsy, but can you do me a favor
Why are you
nonetheless?
talking like that?
Can you do me a favor nonetheless?
What do you want?
Can you recite the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah? Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Period. Period.
It's
And
with
then,
liberty
do you
and
want me
justice
to
for all.
the Texas flag?
Okay, that was all I needed.
To recite that shit, when you have to recite that shit every single day, like, yeah, you kind of get it down.
Yeah, that's so easy. Like, anyone who couldn't recite that is just an absolute idiot.
Un-American, bro.
Un-American. Just, you heard it here. I love you too, bye.
Bye.
She just called me un-American. She didn't even know it. She's like, anyone who can't recite that, un-American. I'm like, yeah, period. Go off.
Well, she couldn't recite it.
Someone was helping her in the background. They were like,
Right.
and she was like, what are you talking about? I'm sitting here.
Put in the comments. Was
Did you hear
there
the whole-
cheating?
Yeah.
Did you hear it too? Be honest. You be honest. Does that count or was she cheating?
I kind of thought I heard someone in the background, and maybe it was just one of those situations where they heard her and got excited. You know, she's at a bar, and maybe they were just like wanting to be included. I don't know, but it did kind of sound like they gave her the beginning half.
So what do you think? Do you feel good taking the point for that?
I do. Nonetheless.
Oh, imagine that. Oh, there was no hesitation. There was no hesitation on that. Okay. Anyways, so you got the 1 point, I guess, for question 1. Question number 2. Who is my favorite football player of all time? I will accept his number if you can't remember his name.
Is his number in the 80s?
I can't answer that.
Is it 81?
I can't. You have to give your final answer, or I mean,
Isn't that him right there?
I can't answer that. You have to give your final answer.
His
Name.
number is 86. Final answer.
That's your final answer.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's correct. I gave her a gimme because his jersey's up here. I know y'all can't see it. This is funny for us. It's kind of an inside joke question.
Oh, brother.
Who owns the UFC? Joe Rogan or Dana White?
Dana White. Final answer.
Ooh, look at her. Give
I
me some
was
on that
ready for
one.
this
Give me
one.
some. Were you really?
I was ready.
Okay. We always laugh because I watch the fights all the time, and she always gets Joe Rogan and Dana White confused. She's like, wait, I know that's Joe Rogan, and it's Dana White. and it'll be the opposite.
I wish it was like a joke too. Like I wish I wasn't 100% confident every time that I like made that declaration. Like that's Joe Rogan.
But I'll give you effort for attempting often.
Mm-hmm. You should always receive effort for attempting often.
Right. It's two bald white guys. You know what I mean? They always wear black button-up shirts to the fights, or often they do. Joe Rogan always does. Dana White does sometimes. So, well, I'll give her that. There's a lot of similarities.
They both look like thumbs.
That's true. They all both look like thumbs. What is the Spy Kids? The thumb people that they're from? Yeah. Yep. I'm proud of her for that one. So you're not going to take a shot by yourself. We know that. It's at least both of us taking a shot. Okay, you got 2 more questions. Most famous street in Memphis,
Beale
Tennessee.
Street.
Ooh, look at her. I should have made these questions harder. I should have made these fucking questions harder.
I would have known that one.
Okay, so you got 4 right. But this is the question that decides whether we both take a shot or only I take a shot.
Is it the hardest question?
Well, it probably depends on what I accept as the answer. Yeah. But it could be hard or it could be pretty easy. I feel like as a female, you'll have at least the general answer.
Okay.
What was I dressed up as, or who was I dressed up as the night we met on Halloween?
Oh, some fighter from a show.
What was I wearing?
You were wearing a tank top and a little like bandana type thing around your head and shorts. Okay. Was that not what you were wearing?
Not exactly, but I'm not like gonna be upset that you don't remember exactly.
You were.
But basically, yes.
Top. Yeah, from a show that I'd never heard of. This was an unfair one.
An unfair one?
Yeah.
How?
How was I supposed to? I didn't even know it when you said it. When I asked you that night.
But you know, that's the thing. I wasn't gonna hold you to saying the exact name because most guys wouldn't know the exact name. No.
It's like a fighting game.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We didn't get to play it, I think, because there was people on it, but it was at the arcade place we went to.
Modern Warfare, final answer.
Incorrect. But you got 4 out of 5.
Okay.
Okay, I was dressed up as Ryu from Street Fighter.
I would have never guessed that.
So we'll both take a shot.
Okay.
So I choose yours and you choose mine.
Okay.
Okay, which one?
Proper 12.
Proper 12 it is. For me.
Hold on, I'm going to check this real quick. It's my phone a friend.
For me, what do I want to give you a shot of? It's called Disaronno.
Whatever that means.
And me and my boy JB call it that Dees. If I'm off that Dees. You know what I'm saying? It's going down tonight, boys.
You're going to be carrying me out of this room. You're going to be carrying me to bed.
The boys will know what I'm talking about. This shot is to Austin and Laura's wedding, which we're going to go to in Austin, Texas pretty soon.
Okay.
Topic 1. Okay, this is kind of for them to get to know you. Some of what you're going to say I already know. You didn't have a typical American upbringing. Why did you not have a typical American upbringing? And, what was different about it? And what were the upsides and downsides to it, in your opinion?
So my mom was born and raised and grew up and most of her young adult life in Sweden. And so she didn't come to the United States until about, I think, 21 or 22. She came to the States around that age just because she was curious and wanted to explore. And she just didn't know what was like the United States was really about. So she went to California because where else would you go if you don't really know anything about
You're
US?
gonna hear about California for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure if you just Google like best places to like visit, especially so many years ago, it would probably be like up there on the top of the list. But
Hollywood and all that.
My dad was a bouncer at the time at a club that my mom was partying at, and they met and they got engaged like week or so later, like I
engaged a week later.
A week
I don't think I
later.
knew that.
Really,
You might have told
quick.
me, but
It was quick.
Interesting.
And my mom always wanted to be a mom, so I think like when she met my dad and he was serious about her, I think it was just kind of like let's start a family like right away.
Okay.
So they had my brother pretty soon. I think my mom was like either turning 24 or just turned 24 when she was either had my brother pregnant with my brother, but I remember she was 24 when she like my brother was born. So pretty young. That's the age that I am right now. So but that's when they had my oldest brother Joachim, and so basically like up until maybe about elementary school we were spending like basically half the year in Sweden, and my dad would just like send us out there and for us to be able to stay and spend time with my family and my grandparents. And it wasn't until like elementary, middle school that we were here like almost full time, and we could only like dedicate the summers to going to Sweden because I mean you're full-time student. So just having that like multicultural experience and like having two different ways of growing up, I've always like seen things a little differently, and like traditions that my family celebrates are a little different from like the typical American traditions, but we always did our best to like celebrate Christmas the American way and then tie in the Swedish tradition to it, you know. So we've always kind of honored my mom's traditions, and like, you know, those don't just like fall to the wayside because we live in the States. So that's been fun. I want to do the same thing with my future kids. I want them to like be aware of Swedish traditions and holidays and how it differs from like how we celebrate Christmas in the States, and you know, like just little things like that. I want them to be aware of and like have like, I almost consider it a luxury to like celebrate in different ways, you know. So I would say those are like the pros of it, like just having like a different cultural experience and like seeing a whole different way of life and community and just like people, you know. I always tell people like, so in Texas, like you go to a store and like people will just kind of like smile at you and they'll wave at you. They might even be like, hey, how's it going? In Sweden, it's like if you smile at someone and wave at them at the store, they're like, like,
so it's kind of like, have you been to the Northeast or like New York-ish area? If you go up there, it's like that, like New York City. Like if you were to hold the door for someone, or someone held the, you don't really hold the door for other people, to be honest. But like if someone did for you and you were like, oh, thanks, ma'am, or like, thank you, sir, they'd be like, what? Why are you talking?
Like,
like, why are you talking to me? You know, or if you accidentally bump into someone, no one says anything when they bump into no one, no matter how hard you bump into anyone.
Like
you just keep walking. Like it's just part of like walking down the street because there's so many people. And I was all like, when I went, it was like every time I'd hit someone, I was like, oh my bad, oh I'm sorry, like because here you do that in Texas because you don't bump into people that much,
right?
Unless you're in a club,
right?
But there, it's like they just boom, 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 just walking.
I wouldn't say we're like checking people at the grocery store in Sweden.
Right. Not that to that extent.
Southern hospitality is not like present. Like
not
you don't
going
just
out of
like
your way.
Yeah, if you make eye contact, like awkward eye contact with someone in an aisle, you're not really going to exchange smiles. Like you're just gonna go on about your day. You're not gonna be like like.
But you don't feel weird about it either because it's normal there.
Right.
Yeah. So before you go to the cons, because you told the pros, when you were up until the point where you started having just the summers in Sweden, did you go to school when you were in Sweden? Like, were you in Swedish school there?
No, we were just like running like little rugrats, like running wild. Like,
so did you have to take time off of your school in America? Like, was there school you missed because of that?
Not really, like not up until like elementary, you know, like that's when it became
so it was like pre-kindergarten you did that.
Yeah, like pre-kindergarten. Even like kindergarten, like I feel like we took like the maximum amount of time like away from school. So, and I had like a lot of school experience from previous, like my mom was a preschool teacher. So like I was in preschool with my mom as my teacher for many years.
In Sweden?
No, here in the States.
Here.
Like that was like her little job here. And so like I kind of had like I didn't feel like I missed much as far as like, you know, school, like the preschool experience or like anything before elementary. Like I don't feel like there's anything that I lack. Speak English well.
Yeah. I agree. You probably speak it better than I do.
Yeah, I would agree.
You agree?
Yeah.
So what about the cons? Like, was there any cons, or even if it's something small, was there any negatives to splitting your time or learning two languages, or anything negative about it to you?
So I guess I would say not really as far as like the learning aspect of things, but more so like my dad is black, so I'm half black, and my mom is white. But so I think when people would look at me, especially as a kid, they would just see me as like black, and so they would just kind of identify me as black, when really I had this whole separate culture of being Swedish and like being bilingual, and like I'm a dual citizen, and I have all these things to like support that like heritage of mine. And so I would have kids just be like, oh, well, you're just black. And so I think like the only con growing up was like I would spend my time in Sweden, and then I would come back and I'd be around like American kids, and they would like almost like take that away from me. It's like I couldn't have that, and it would be like, no, I'm not just black, I'm actually like, my mom's from Sweden and like I'm half Swedish. And it would be like, no. So I would say the negative growing up was like I almost had like sort of an identity crisis, just like trying to stay true to who I was and like the things that were like true to me as a person. Being a daughter of an immigrant, it's like I felt like I could never really hold on to that, or like like people didn't respect that or appreciate it or think it was cool in my younger years. And so I think a lot of it was just like, I think outside influences, and just not feeling like I could fully be myself, or that like feeling truly understood as like for who I am, and like
Do you think that was due to or do you think part of that was due to the fact that you grew up in a small town, right, in Texas? Would you say suburbs or rural?
I would say,
or like in betweenish?
Yeah, maybe in between. A very, very small town, more suburbs than like rural.
Okay, but kind of a blend of both.
Yeah.
Would you say that it was due to the town you grew up in was not very diverse, so a lot of those kids had not experienced people from different cultures, 100%. And so they didn't know how to like make you feel like they should. Right. They didn't know how to act around someone, or things to say that were right or not right, or okay or not okay. Like, do you think part of it was due to that?
I think it played definitely a part. Like kids are so complex and like simple
and
at the
honest,
same time,
and just
honest.
They just say what they feel.
It's so hard to say. I'm sure that played a part, but I also feel like I definitely know that there wasn't many black kids in my school. Like I remember knowing there wasn't many people who looked like me. Like I had one black friend growing up, and she was really the only black kid in my grade for many grades. Like up until like kindergarten to like probably 4th or 5th grade, I hadn't seen more than maybe like 1 or 2 black kids in my grade. And so I think I definitely felt like the minority, and because I felt that way, I'm sure that like a lot of like my fellow like white classmates didn't have a lot of like black classmates. And so when I'm telling them like, hey, and we're children, and I'm telling them, oh, but I'm actually Swedish, I'm not just black, I'm sure that's kind of just like going over their heads, and they're just like, they're seeing a black person and they're like, okay, like whatever you say, like you're okay, but you're black. Like kids are so matter of fact, and it's so black and white, and they don't really like think in depth and in between the lines sometimes about things. Like it's a whole lot of why, and it just needs to make sense. And so I think it's like what you said, and I also just think it's like kids don't, I don't know, sometimes like they just don't really know. Yeah.
I feel like there's so many complexities to life that you don't know until you become an adult, or at least get more experiences under your belt. That I'm sure there were plenty of things that were said by other kids that may have made you feel weird or hurt you or whatever, and they might have had no idea that it was hurting you. They might have just been speaking what they felt, or what, unfortunately, maybe what they heard their parents say, that they, even if they shouldn't say it, but they just didn't know because they just grew up around, maybe they're, I'm sure if they were in that small town and their parents grew up in that small town, and when their parents grew up, it was probably even less diverse. So they were probably even closer to, I'm not going to say they're racist, but
Mm-hmm.
closer to the time where that was really common, you know.
Right.
So it's definitely something that it gets better with generations. I feel like America continues to like, I mean, there's struggles along the way, but America overall continues to get better and better, and we continue to mix more and more through all the cultures that are living in America, you know. And it's interesting because, so like percentage-wise, if you had to guess, what would you guess that your high school's percentage of black people was?
High school, maybe like 25-30%.
Okay.
It was like majority white. Like there were Confederate flags when you pulled up to park your car, you know, like just like on the trucks. Like it was majority white kids, but like there were more black kids. I didn't feel like the only black kid on campus. I think at that point, come high school, I was already like more confident in who I was. So I think as a kid, you go through so much like development as a kid, you know, psychological, puberty, like just so many things. And I can't speak for just like a white person, but like as a half black person or a black person surrounded by like predominantly white people, I'm sure I'm not the only one who has kind of just felt like insecure about like my race and like, I don't know, just like comparing myself to like the kids around me. It took a long time before I was confident in being black. Like no one ever made me feel like it was like a great thing. So I had to do that on my own. I had to tell myself like being black is like something to be proud of, and like no matter how people make me feel, like I am proud of that part of me. I'm not gonna let people just say I'm just black because that erases like my mom's immigration and all that like I do have to like support a multicultural background, but it's like at the same time I am proud of that. So even if I was just black, I'm proud of that. So I think by high school I was already like confident in who I was, so it didn't matter as much. Like that sounds bad, but it's like, oh yeah, there's more black people, but I probably didn't even really notice it. It was kind of one of those things, like I've already gone through that stage of like being insecure about being black, not feeling like people valued being black. Like a lot of like at that age, a lot of kids are honest. Again, like I was made to feel like being black was less than and it wasn't beautiful. And so I think come high school, I had already come to terms with all that and had my own like feelings about it and my own confidence and like who I was and like my ethnicity and just like, so to answer your question, I think by high school it didn't matter.
I've heard before that your most formative years are between ages of, I think, 3 and 7 or 3 and 8. So that's elementary school, right? So that probably does make the most difference in most people. And the reason why I asked the question about percentages, because I had never asked that before, I don't think, but the high school that I went to, I believe I went on our high school website at some point to like turn in some type of an assignment or something like that was online, which we didn't have a lot of back then, but something online. And then I was just clicking around and I saw some like demographic something, you know, and clicked on it, and I believe it's like 30 or 35% African American at the school.
Maybe mine was less, because I feel like you probably have more black people than I did.
Maybe or maybe not, I don't know. I grew up in definitely the suburbs of Memphis, even though like I rep Memphis hard, but I grew up what I would consider to be straight up suburbs, like just the heart of the suburbs of Memphis. And then as soon as you go, you know, 15 minutes closer to Memphis, you're getting more city and more hood. As soon as you go 15 minutes farther from Memphis, you're getting more country and more redneck, you know? So grew up around ghetto and redneck together, and I saw the positives and negatives of both. And we didn't have many other cultures. Like there was a couple other kids of different cultures, of course, but mostly just black and white.
Yeah.
And but Memphis as a city as a whole, like if you're just talking about Memphis as a city, they're probably 60 to 70% black. So as a city, white would be the minority. You know, just the area I grew up in, a majority.
Right.
Just to throw the statistics out there. But so with all that said, Sweden and America, you've experienced both. A lot of Swedish experience you have is when you were younger. If you had to say what was your favorite of the two countries, what would it be?
Sweden.
Sweden.
Yeah.
Quick. Easy
Quick.
like that.
I
Okay.
would move back there if I could.
Okay, so tell us, the American people listening, why do you love Sweden so much? What are the positives about Sweden maybe that you wish were here, or just what nostalgic things make you choose Sweden?
So, they value like vegetation, like they're gonna keep like their natural forests up and like just they're not gonna tear it all down just to build more shopping centers, which we have plenty of, you know.
Especially in the Dallas area,
We really
the DFW area, you're not lacking any shopping centers.
I do, but I feel like we have so many. Like I can name you 5 good places to go shop in the DFW Metroplex, and it's like, why do we need to add more? It's just like we're feeding a demand that I don't really think exists. Like, I know where I live, which I'm not going to say.
It's convenient.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, and I kind of don't like that. Like, we'll tear down land and forest, just for more convenience and less of a drive. So like, again, I'm not going to say where I live, but in the city that I live in, like a bunch of new stuff is about to go up, and it's like, it's already a college town, so there's already a lot of like traffic that I'm like, I don't need a shopping center here. I don't want a shopping center here, like a mall or like outlets. Like, I'm good. I would drive 30 minutes for that rather than have more.
Yeah.
So just more, I'm a big nature girl. So more just
a little bit of a hippie.
Yeah,
a little bit of a hippie.
Just a little bit. So just like more nature. The forests are amazing in Sweden. It's like some of my core like nostalgic memories. Just very like dreamy and like, I don't know, like out of like a fairy tale story.
So like me or what?
Yeah, pretty much. Reminiscent, it's just like one and the same. But I don't know, I just think it's a beautiful country. They're more like, free healthcare and more about like the citizens of their country, and just like they prioritize like not just maternal but like paternity leave, like for fathers, and that's like a mandatory thing that's expected of fathers.
Did the fathers get as much as the mothers in there?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they can act.
That's pretty cool.
There's a minimum that they have to take. Don't quote me, but I think it's 190, somewhere around there. That like if you're gonna take it, yes, days.
Christ.
And the pay is usually 80 to 90% of what you typically would make if you weren't. Like, if you were in office is normal. So, like, you're not...
I dig that.
Yeah. So if you're going to take the time, because you can forfeit the time. You don't... Like, no one is forcing you to take the time.
If you want to take your 100% of pay or whatever.
Yeah. So, like, no one is forcing you to take it, but it's highly encouraged. Because the benefits are so good that it's like, why not take time to bond with your child? And, like... So if you're going to take it, the father will take that, like... I don't know that it's 190 exactly. Again, don't like quote me out, but around that. So you'll take that time, and if you don't want it, because you get quite a lot, I think it's like 287 days, somewhere around there, like total. If you take your 180, 90, and you're like, okay, this baby, like, and I, like, we're not going to spend any more time together, I'm going back to work. You can give those days, like, pretty sure you can transfer them over to your partner, so you could give your wife like extra days.
You get 190 or you get 280 something?
You get 287 total, I'm pretty sure. Somewhere around there.
Leave for the kid?
For leave.
You get
paid leave.
You get 2/3 of a year?
Yes. Again, don't quote me on the numbers, but it's a lot.
That's
I remember it being
crazy.
a lot. So you get like around like 200 something. Let's just say 200 something. Days. You have to take 100 something days. You have all these days left over. I'm pretty sure, again, I wrote a paper on this like years and years and years ago. So it's been a while since I've like checked my numbers and like, the statistics of it. But so say you take your minimum required days and you're like, that's it. I don't want to stay home anymore. Like I don't want the extra days. I'm pretty sure you can either transfer them to your partner, but if you don't want to do that, you hold on to those days and they expire within 12 years.
You can transfer them to your partner even if they don't work at the same place?
Yes. But you have to take your minimum amount of days in order to transfer.
So all employers just say, if we get a transfer from another place, we have to accept it?
Yeah.
Wow.
So then it's like, if you take your minimum days and like say you don't want to transfer them to your partner, they expire within 12 years of the child being born. So
12 years?
years.
So they could be 12 years old and you're like, I'm taking paternity leave.
Exactly. So, like, you use those days. So, say your 11-year-old is sick with the flu and you're like, oh, I gotta take off a week to care for my kid. You have, like, 100+ days that you never used that you can now cash in as, like, time to stay home with your kid. Like, in the end, it comes back full circle.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's a whole different world over there.
It seems like it.
But I like the idea of, like, encouraging fathers to stay home with their infants.
I like that idea, for sure. I think that would be cool to incorporate that more in America.
Yeah.
I will say this, I'm going to take a piss. So topic 2 is us. All right, the first thing you're going to do is tell them everything you love about me. Okay. I'm just kidding.
Get the scroll. Roll it out.
I'm just kidding. In the beginning of us dating each other.
Why are you smiling?
I mean, you know, I'm just thinking about us first meeting each other and whatnot. Okay. Something you said in the past is that you knew you wanted me. Mm-hmm. Okay? Before you even met me. Mm-hmm. Why? Like, what about me or what you saw on my social media or whatever it was then, and then also after you met me? Like, why me?
So, just like before I met you, obviously, like based on your social media, you were just like committed. Like your commitments were very clear. You had goals, like you were very dedicated, it seemed like, mainly to like fitness and your health and like to God. And it was just apparent on your social media. I get that social media is just like something that like you portray to others. So like I took it with a grain of salt, but I liked everything that I saw. I liked that based on your social media, it looked like you weren't like out for a good time, that you were like looking to like for that next like phase of your life, like something with deeper meaning, like raising a family and like getting married. I didn't go through a big party phase, but I'm a little bit younger than you. I would say I hit that like I'm done with this, like I'm ready to like buckle down and be a wife and like have a family like much earlier than maybe some people do. I always knew I wanted that, but the party life never really like did it for me. So I think like I was already looking for something, like I wasn't looking for anything, but if it was going to be something, it was going to be something that wasn't just like a fling. Just our core values like aligned for me. So that was like the thing that attracted me to you. I was like, we're on the same life path. We have the same big like values.
Okay. So when you did meet me, that was what you thought pre-meeting me, right? That's like the beforehand. And you said that you knew that you wanted me before you met me. And then after you met me, was I 100% what you thought? Were there some things that were like different than you expected, positive and negative?
100%.
And like what were those things, you know, in a vague sense? We don't have to go into all the details if you don't want to, but
yeah. I was actually talking about this with Laura today when we were painting, that you were not at all what I expected.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Okay, so hold on, let's pause there.
Everything I just said applied, but I mean,
okay.
As far as like what I thought you would be like how you like what your personality would be like what it would be like hanging out with you, I had kind of perceived you, like, no offense, as like maybe a little vain, like maybe a little like superficial.
This is a common response.
Yeah, I'm just being honest.
No, I know that for some reason, like in different ways throughout my life, people have said that. So
I don't feel that way about you, but
yeah, I
think I just expected you to be kind of like an F-boy, like not much personality, like just looks, you know. Mm-hmm. I definitely did not expect you to be as funny as you are. 100%. I did not expect that. That is the thing.
That compliment.
That is the thing.
That's a cool compliment.
Yeah, that's the thing that took me by surprise the most.
Mm-hmm. What green flags did you notice in me, and what green flags do you look for in men? If you're a single woman, this is part of me trying to give value to the guys out there listening. Like, what does a woman's mind think like? What is she?
So,
what does she think?
Green flag, he has a dog right off the bat.
Green flag?
Green flag. Okay. Has a dog, like...
Shout out to Cairo.
Yeah, shout out to Cairo. Right outside the door.
Yeah, he's right outside the door. Probably whining. Okay,
well, let me do yours first. Mm-hmm. So, communication, like, you're big on, like, wanting to talk about things, you know? Like, and you're really good at it too, so communication's a big one. That was like a green flag for me because I'm very much like a let's just sweep it under the rug and like stew and brew about it, you know, and like never really resolve it because I kind of grew up that way. Mm-hmm. And I think it was like refreshing for me to like meet someone who is like, no, like there's an issue and we're going to talk about it and like we're going to get through it and like we're going to move on and be better from it. Like, so it doesn't creep up, you know, later. And I think I was kind of like, what? Like, huh? So that's a green flag. Preferring that rather than like letting things like, you know, just go unresolved. You were respectful. You were good to my friends. I remember because the first night we met, my friends were with me, you know, and it kind of felt like, you know, when you're like hanging out, you just feel like in good hands. I felt like you were concerned about the well-being of everyone. Like you just seemed like the protector of the group. So like that was a good green flag. So like respectful, good to my friends. That was a green flag. Should I go on to I could keep going. I could just keep going.
Yeah, we won't keep talking about me.
Yeah.
We'll just so now hypothetically, if you were single right now.
Consistency to some extent, you know. I would want to know that someone is serious about me, like, you know, I would want to know that. So I would need consistency. Like if we're going 3-4 days without talking, like, don't text me ever again. Probably, like, again, like, one of your green flags was, like, your commitments and dedications. Like, if they didn't have many things that they were, like, committed to that they did regularly, whether that be, like, working out or, like, jiu-jitsu or, like, they're studying to do something. Like, if there's not something that they are doing regularly that they show up for, it's, like, as a woman, you want to see a man show up and know that, like, even when he's tired, he's going to do his job. Even when he doesn't want to, he's going to do his job. You know, we all, even as women, need to be doing that. Relationship with God. So that is like a really apparent thing when guys just like promote being a Christian, but then you meet them and you're like,
he's not
like,
dedicated to it.
Yeah, like you guys don't have a single conversation about it. You know, you're like 3 dates in and you don't even really know where this guy stands like religiously. Like I've kind of had situations like that where it's like on their profile they're like, oh, I'm a Christian, and then like you've been on a couple dates and you're like, we haven't talked about God once. Like I don't really know where you stand like religiously. That's kind of like, I know we're talking green flags, but like that's kind of a red flag. So a clear like
the green flag would be the opposite of,
yeah.
I think it's a pretty good list.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I could go on and on and on.
So now we've got a pretty fun portion
okay.
of the podcast. We've got the game.
Okay.
So the game is I'm going to give you 2 different scenarios, and specifically for you, since this is based around relationships and guys and girls and whatever, it's going to be you're thinking of like a guy that's in these 2 scenarios. Which scenario are you picking? Guy 1 drives a Fiat.
Immediately no.
Guy 2 drives a motorcycle. But they only have those 2 vehicles. If that's all the info you have, which guy?
That's it?
That's all the info you get.
The Fiat.
The Fiat. Mm-hmm. Okay, why the Fiat?
Because clearly he values like safety. You know, like he's gonna be around longevity. He can be around for
I don't know how safe Fiats are, but more safe than a motorcycle. Mm-hmm. I'll give you that.
So, you know, longevity, he'll be around to like, he'll be home for dinner, most likely for the kids. You know.
So you're stereotyping motorcycle guys as not being home for dinner?
Call it what you want, baby.
Okay. Alright. Guy 8. The first guy, vegetarian. Second guy eats very unhealthy. So you get two ends of the spectrum. Very restrictive diet, very unhealthy. Which one do you like?
I have to eat what they're eating?
No, you just have to be with him.
Oh.
You have to be with him.
Vegetarian.
Okay. Guy 1 is an athlete.
Okay.
Guy 2 is swole. He's jacked.
Naturally? He's just God's favorite?
He doesn't... No. He doesn't take steroids, but he works out to be swole. He's swole. Like, he's muscular.
Okay.
He doesn't take steroids. Swole.
And guy 1 is what?
Or an athlete. Guy 1's an athlete. Guy 2 is swole.
But aren't you...
But guy 1 is not swole. Guy 2...
What kind of athlete? What kind of sport does he play? lacrosse?
No, he's not a professional athlete. He's just athletic. He's an athlete. You know he's athletic. He competes in sports. You see him do well, even if it's rec stuff, whatever. But he's just a very athletic dude.
I'm going to take natural athleticism any day.
Over swole. Okay. Fair enough. Let's see where we're at. Okay. A guy who's a 10 in the face versus a guy who's a 10 in the body. The other one is just, average or whatever on the other end of the spectrum.
The face.
10 face?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A guy who shaves his body completely.
The whole thing.
Yeah, he's bare.
Okay.
Or a guy who's overly hairy.
Bear.
Hairy.
100% bear. You just stop right there. I don't need the visual. I got it.
100%
clear.
bare?
Yeah, crystal clear. Got the image.
Okay. A guy who forgets the important dates.
Mm-hmm.
Birthdays, anniversaries, all that. Or the guy who forgets the little stuff, like, constantly forgets to take the trash out, or, whatever. Little stuff. Yeah, that's the whole thing. You gotta choose.
They're both so bad. I guess the little stuff.
He forgets the little... You would rather him forget the little stuff and remember the big things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A guy who makes $100,000 a year, but he doesn't do any chores. Or a guy who makes $50,000 a year, but he will split the chores with you. Split the chores and the $50,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your choice on that one. All right. A guy, this is not specific on salary, but a guy who makes more money, but he always calls someone to fix things around the house. Or a guy who makes less money, but he'll fix it himself.
I don't have a preference with this one. They're
You have to pick.
Same.
You have to pick. It's not one and the same. They're different.
Is he fixing things correctly around the house? Like, is he, doing just as good of a job as if...
He does a pretty good job. Like, it's fixed.
The more money.
More money.
Yeah.
And he always calls someone to fix.
You didn't sell it to me that...
The details.
That was
with
really just
women.
because I couldn't pick.
All right. Okay. A guy who paints his nails black.
Fire.
Fucking barf. Or...
You better cut that out.
I'm not cutting that out. A guy who paints his nails, but I can't say barf on that.
You're gonna get hate for that.
I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care. My real supporters are here. Or a guy who wears eyeliner.
Nail polish.
The black nail polish.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A guy who he's so tatted that he has neck tats. Like a neck tat. Right? Or a guy with 0 tats. What was that?
A hiccup.
I don't think... Okay. Whatever.
Okay.
Or a guy with no tats.
Tats.
Tats all the way to the neck.
Mm-hmm.
Over no tats.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now we're on to the third topic.
Okay.
Getting closer to the end here. This is where I'm trying to bring some value back to the listeners, okay? Just rattle off. You don't got to put them in order or anything like that, whatever. Rattle off some red flags or some pet peeves that guys have when you're dating guys or you're single or whatever.
Inconsistency right off the bat.
Meaning in things they do outside of you or with you.
Like, I guess with you. So, like the energy is, really strong in the beginning, and they're, very, almost, borderline overbearing. And
assertive?
Then, yeah, and then you don't hear from them for 3 days, and then they come back, and they're like, oh, my gosh, I was just, so busy. My gosh, but missed you, been thinking about you. Those kinds of, guys, big red flag. It should be consistency. We don't need to be talking every second of every day, but if I go 3 days without hearing from you,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So what about the few days after you didn't hear from me?
You were almost a goner. That was actually a huge red flag.
Let's explain for the people. So we met. We hung out the first night. We met the very next day. Next morning, I texted her. Right, to make sure everything was all good. And then it was what? How many days until the next?
Like 3 or 4?
3 or 4 days until the next text message. So that was a red flag for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was like, this guy's not serious.
Okay. And then it was my dedication after that point that hooked you back in? Or what?
I don't know
if not, then what was it?
That's a question.
That's a good
for
question.
A different day. If he's not initiating a date almost like right away, I'm not even gonna bother. I'm not even waste my time. If it's like this, like we're texting and no date has been planned, like there needs to be a date planned almost like
not
right
hanging
away.
out, but a date.
We're not chilling some time, like what is that?
Yeah.
No, immediately no. So like a date needs to be planned right away. So a red flag would be like texting too long and there's no initiation of like taking me out, or like or even worse, he's like, he tells you like we should chill sometime, kind of like leaving it, like up in the air and kind of like putting a little bit of like the pressure on you to decide what you do. Like, no, I want to either be asked out or asked what I want to do to know that like this is going to be serious, or like,
Yeah.
So inconsistency, not, making plans to like meet right away. We're not going to text for weeks.
What about specific stuff? Things that you see him do, or physical, like things he might wear, things he might say, or
drinking too much.
Habits.
Drinking too much. So like being like a low-key alcoholic, like, is something I look out for, just like kind of with our generation, like drinking a lot, it's like normalized and it's not normal. So like drinking a lot.
What about hygiene stuff?
I mean, obviously he has to have good hygiene.
Right, but what's the number one thing you think of when you're like, oh, I can't do that. If he does this, I'm out.
I don't know. Do you have one?
A hygiene thing?
Uh-huh.
If a girl has dirt under her nails. I mean, if you have painted nails, you can't see, obviously.
Yeah.
But if you don't have painted nails,
yeah.
If a girl like has, I'm sure you could see some dirt under a girl's nails, and then it'd be like a scenario where you understand, or like it's a one-time thing. But if that's something you see multiple times or consistently, like that just seems dirty.
Yeah.
This is the last topic before the end. So we both come from split homes. Parents divorced at different times throughout our life. So I'm gonna read you some statistics, and then we're gonna talk about it a little bit. So for first-time marriages in America, the divorce rate is 40 to 50%. For second-time marriages, the divorce rate is 60%, and then for third-time marriages, the divorce rate is 73%. And then millennials, so mine/our age group, you're like right on the edge of that age group. We get divorced statistically less than our parents did, but we also get married at an older age, so they're thinking that that's possibly part of the statistic, like why we do better after we're married. And then also religious people tend to get divorced 15% less than people who are non-religious. Why do you think that divorce is so common, first of all?
I think it's hard to forgive, like when you're with someone like forever, you're talking like you've made a commitment like under God, like you've made vows to this person. I think like that's taken so lightly, to like value your life and commitment away to someone. Like it runs so much deeper than I think some people realize they're signing up for, and it's like, one, I think like even we've experienced this in our own relationship, like how important it is to like be humble about the little things. I think when you're with someone forever, a lot of like just like disagreements over, the course of being together forever. And I think in order to just like be invincible as a couple, you've just got to let it roll off. Like you've got to be forgiving. Like forgiveness has got to be like the most like prevalent thing in your relationship. And I think it's got to be down to just like, it's almost like your immediate reaction. Like, oh, I'm just going to let this go. I'm just going to let this go. Like, obviously the big things like carry more weight, but like in hindsight, when you look at things and you're like, this is really not that big of a deal. This is something that should be squashed. Like, there's no reason for this to like carry on into tomorrow. Like being able to be like, all right, then I'm going to be the one to squash it. Like kind of like we've talked about before, even if you're the one who is owed the apology, being able to be the one that's like, well, hopefully I'll get that apology later, but it's not worth like, disrupting my marriage for 2 days in a row versus one. Maybe you start building resentment. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But forgiveness has got to be like a huge part of that, like truly forgiving.
Yeah.
Empathizing, like understand people aren't perfect, and even though you marry someone and you do that with expectations that they're going to behave a certain way, like people are human beings, they're not perfect.
Yeah.
So forgiveness, like at the core of everything.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I think that's said a lot in the scriptures throughout the Bible of like how we should be as married couples,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or as just as children of God in general, is to forgive a lot. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a thing a lot of people should work on, including myself. You know, forgiving is hard a lot of times when people hurt you
Mm-hmm.
in different ways. And I think that there's also on the flip side of that, there's a little bit of a line that you have to walk with, you know, what do I look at as I don't want to make a big deal out of this, let's move on to the next thing, or let's just forget about it, let's not make a big deal out of it, versus like we spoke to earlier, like sweeping under the rug. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you do that with too much,
Mm-hmm.
then you're also going to have a bunch of issues you haven't talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And then like 5-10 years down the road, or a year down the road, whatever it is, then it all piled up and somebody's going to explode. Like
Mm-hmm.
someone's going to have resentment. So you have to like, it's tough, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes to figure out, I'm sure for people, what is worth sweeping under the rug and just, it's not that big of a deal, let's just move past it,
Mm-hmm.
versus we should talk this out because it may come back to bite us later, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that is an interesting
Mm-hmm.
thing to think about. And I think forgiveness is a huge thing, because I think it's kind of ridiculous to think you can go through any marriage, being together for any length of time, like 5, 10, 15, 40 years, whatever it is, and to think no one's going to do anything wrong the whole time. You're humans.
Yeah.
You're going to, you know.
You guys are going to hurt each other. Like,
Right.
you're going to look at your partner and be like, I cannot believe you did this, or I cannot believe you
Yeah.
hurt me like this. Like, there are things that you're going to have to put aside that you're like, I don't want to put this aside. Like, I'm not ready to put this aside. And especially if you have kids in that equation, sometimes you just have to. You know, it's
Right.
like you have made a vow that you're going to work through the hard stuff. Like, it's like, it just runs so much deeper than like if you're just dating, then yeah, sure, hold the grudge for like all week long if that's what is going to make you feel better, if that's how you want to handle things. But when you're married and maybe you have kids, it's like, we're no longer in this like, let's hold this grudge. Like, we have to like keep it pushing, like the bigger picture kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree. So for me, why divorce is so common, I kind of feel like sometimes I don't know how to state this, because I feel like I come from like a somewhat of a biased standpoint, but as a Christian, I feel like those who consider themselves as Christians and those who, so that first statement, those who consider themselves as Christians, is a pretty broad statement, but then also there's like a very specific delineation between people who really read the Bible and try their best to be what a Christian should be, and then people who go to church on Easter, they don't read the Bible, they don't
look the part.
yeah. They just want to put it in their bio, but they don't read the Bible, they don't go to church, there's no relationship between them and God on a regular basis. So that spans all of those people. But just as in general, as Christian people, they don't put God at the head of the family. I think before husband and wife comes God. I think before, you don't put each other first, and that sounds weird to some people, especially if they're not religious, but you put God first. And if you put God first and you follow his teachings, you're going to end up benefiting each other anyways. Like God leads in a very selfless way, you know? So if you put God first and you follow his teachings, you're going to put your partner first in a lot of ways. And then, you know, trickling down throughout the household, the man is supposed to be the head of the household, you know, and then it goes to his wife and kids. The man being the head of the household, people a lot of times misconstrue that as different things. They think, oh, I'm in control. Well, it doesn't mean you're in control. You still discuss things with your wife. You still her opinion still matters just as much as yours does. But you may have that final, like, put your foot down type of authority. But you need to do that with the thought process that I'm going to sacrifice for my family before they sacrifice for what I want. And a lot of guys, if they're just not raised right, or they don't know what the Bible actually says, or they don't know what it means to be a good Christian, they think, oh, I'm supposed to be the head of the household as a Christian. It means I do what I want. Y'all just fall in line, and that's not true. And and sometimes even families will put the kids first in everything. Whatever we need to do for the kids are first. Whatever the kids need, blah blah blah, and they ignore each other. Right. The couple ignores each other. They don't.
Which are the foundation of everything. So
right.
It's like without that foundation, like nothing is like stable.
Exactly. So you may give the kids financially whatever they need. You may have an individual relationship with the kids that's fine, and the wife may have an individual relationship with the kids that's fine.
But now they lack that, like,
they don't see
proper
you two.
example, yeah.
Yeah, they don't see you two having the relationship that they should. So they grow up thinking that a relationship is more individualistic than it really is. They grow up thinking that if I'm in a relationship, it doesn't mean I have to be very close to the person, which is not true, or my parents fought a lot. That's just what happens. You just fight when you're in relationships, which is not true.
Like, my parents didn't, like, I know for me personally, I'm sure you've had things in your own, like, experience growing up. Like, my parents weren't, like, they weren't really in love by the time that, like, I was, like, old enough to recognize, like, their behavior towards each other. And they weren't touchy-feely. Like, I never saw my mom or my dad kiss, really. Like, I never really saw that, like, affectionately. And I know as kids, you're like, oh, ew, gross. But when you never see your parents love on each other, you're like, y'all love each other? Like... like, I always wondered, like, I would go over to my friends' houses and see, like, their dad give their mom a kiss, like, walk up to her and just kiss her, and I would think, that's weird. When really it's not, to show affection towards your partner, and it's like, I want my kids, like, just talking about divorce and, like, healthy dynamics, I want my kids, like, just from my personal experience to, like, see, like, I mean, I don't want to display, like, ridiculous amounts of PDA in front of my kids, but I want them to know, like, dad loves mom and mom loves dad, and, like, we know that, like, I don't ever want my kids to wonder, like, do my parents even like each other, like, it's just, like, little things, but it's so hard when you think about, like, you have this idea of, like, the kind of parent you're going to be and the kind of kids you're going to raise and the kind of household you're going to have, but, like, I'm sure it's so much harder than, like, paint it out to be.
Yeah, we're not there yet, so I'm sure
we're going to be watching this back and be like, oh, they were such fools.
They were so innocent back then.
Yeah, they were so naive.
They thought it was so easy.
Yeah.
If someone's non-religious, it's harder for me to say. I mean, I think people are going to lean more towards, like, it being a 50-50 split than a man leading if they're non-religious. And if you have two people who can balance that, cool. But I feel like in almost every single relationship, whether it be friend to friend, man to woman, spouse, sibling to sibling, parent to child, any relationship, there is a power dynamic. There is someone who is more dominant than the other person, period. It's just the way humans are. And so it's whether you think it's 50-50 or not, I tend to lean towards there's always someone who's a little bit more dominant. And if you try to fight that, you're going to cause more problems than you would if you have a person has their head on straight but is more dominant and leads. Trying to walk every step 50-50, same pattern, same steps, is a lot harder than just letting someone who you trust to lead and you keep them in check. You know what I mean? And they have to let you keep them in check as well.
Yeah.
But that's how I feel about it.
3 hours later.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a long podcast, but hopefully y'all enjoy it. Hopefully y'all get to know myself and Linnea. But now is the spotlight that I always do. So I always pick someone or some company that I spotlight on Instagram or another social media application that I think could use the promotion or that, you know, deserves the promotion. And for this spotlight, I'm picking Linnea's mother.
Oh, you're so
Ricky.
cute.
Yeah, Linnea's mother, Ricky. She's an artist, and her Instagram I'll put on the screen. I don't want to pronounce this wrong. Is it, how do you say it?
Ulrika. So are you talking about her first name?
Ulrika.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was okay? Decent
It was
pronunciation?
okay,
Okay.
It's a hard name.
Ulrika _Peterson_art, which I'll have on the screen, like I said. That's her Instagram name. She's an artist.
You're so cute.
And she does amazing art. I'm going to put some of her pictures of
really
things she's
amazing.
painted on the screen, so you'll see that right about now. You guys can go search her page and reach out to her if you're interested in her doing a piece for you. I'll put her social media tags in the description. I'll put Linnea's social media tags in the description, even
I
though...
won't accept your follow request, but you can try.
Yeah, you can try. She's
May
not...
the odds be in your favor. I don't know. Sometimes I randomly accept a few of your followers. I'll be like, okay, like, and it's completely random. There's no criteria that, like, will guarantee you a follow or, like, access. It's just simply random.
Yeah. So
sometimes if I decline and they send it a couple more times, I'm like, persistence. Accept.
Take that note, guys. Linnea will accept.
I thought I would make it in that time.
She didn't say Kobe. That's why.
I know.
And so also the promo codes for 10,000 Fitness Apparel and EPN Nutrition for your nutrition supplements are going to be in the description, or Cairo's Instagram in there. Check us all out. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, I extremely appreciate the fact that you watched the whole thing. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. We're out.